Oh, welcome to the virtual town hall, small businesses. I want to just show you my mask here that I received down when I was down on my Newport tour. And we're calling it rebranding our tour from the Take It Outside small business tour to the 39 cities and towns to the Restore Rhode Island grant program, because we want our small businesses to be applying for the grant. So let me just move this down a little bit so you can see me. I'm Dan McKee. Welcome to the virtual town hall, small business town hall. We have every Tuesday. And today, before we bring out our guests, I know Matt Weldon be on, and we have some of our small businesses also will be joining us to talk about some very important things. But as I've always said, let's make sure that we're, following the rules, protecting the masks. What interesting designs by the artists down there in Narragansett. Really enjoyed we enjoyed our visit on our tour last week, and we were in Chepachet last week up in Gloucester, and we also will be in Newport this week, along with East Providence, I think, coming up in Jamestown. I know we'll be down there with Town Manager Amesworth in Jamestown on Thursday, I believe, of this week as well. So we're out there doing it, but let's make sure we're following the rules. We can't get the economy going unless we are, wearing the masks, unless we're doing that, and unless we're, washing our hands, and we're in the middle of these tours, and we're listening to these small businesses, and we know that we need to do a lot more. And that's what this program's about today, is that we are drafting a letter right now to the governor and to Commerce about revising the Restore Rhode Island grant program. $50 million was appropriated, several weeks back, and only $10 million as of last week have been awarded to 1,300 businesses. Great for those businesses, but thousands of businesses should be, taking advantage of that grant program, and we're doing everything we can, and we're going to talk about that a little more today. But some of our recommendations are going to be: let's make sure that every small businesses that qualify, including sole proprietors, minimum $5,000. $5,000. Put it on a short application process, so that kind of like on pre-app, immediately you qualify. There's some urgency here, and we want to let you know, if we don't use the funds, the $1.25 billion by December 31st, and we are now approaching mid-October towards early November right now, those monies are going back to Washington. We either use the money or we lose the money, and right now we want that $50 million to go out. So the state needs to do a couple things to make it simpler. Let's get $5,000 grants out, at the minimum. And because we've increased the employment from 20 employees, number of employees, staff members, from 20 to 50, let's increase the cap to $50,000 for each small businesses that qualify. And those who have already been qualified, and let's make sure if they got less than 5, then send them another check, get them to 5. If they qualify for more than 15, then let's provide those extra dollars to them without them reapplying. Let's get the money out. We need to get the money out to our small businesses. So that's the way to do it. One is, there's a deadline. The state, the small businesses have got to respond. December 31st, we either use the money or we lose it. So we want that $50 million to go out, and we're still advocating for another $75 million. If we streamline the process, I was in Westerly the other day. They had a great Main Street closed down, multiple vendors there on Sunday. All great ideas, but that weather is going to change. And this Take It Outside, we're in New England, and we only can expect so much. These businesses need money now. We got the money. Let's get it to them. And finally, I want to talk about the education piece. We need to merely pay attention to that. The schools have all they can handle. The districts have all they can handle. I've been advocating that the local school districts should control the way that they open up and not have a state mandate on that. The local communities really could understand what to do and how to do it well. But we can't expect them our school districts, whether they're district schools, charter schools, mayoral academies, to offset the amount of hours that we're going to lose, that the students are losing right now on their education. Hundreds and hundreds of hours are being lost. Doesn't matter whether you're a high income family, low income, moderate income. Doesn't matter if you're a minority, non-minority, public school, private school. Hundreds and hundreds of hours are being lost between March of 2020 and March of 2021. And we got to figure out a way to help our students, catch up on those hours. One way is do what I did as a mayor in town of Cumberland, open up an education office, a municipal education department, and to really, customize that office in all 39 cities and towns to address this lost education. It's going to matter to our students, it's going to matter to our families, and it's going to matter to our long-term economy in the state in terms of making sure that we're doing everything we can to work our way through this health crisis, and then beyond that, to recover and to actually build back better, as one of the presidential candidates says, let's build back better. So anyways, those three things: the urgency, get the money out, revise the way that we are doing the Restore Rhode Island grant program. Commerce has worked very hard. My understanding is that they're going to be including the child care very shortly. Some of our nonprofits make sense. We've been asking for that for several weeks. Commerce is really working hard to get the money out, and we need to kind of revise the plan from the governor down to make sure that Commerce can get these dollars out. Let's support Commerce in their efforts to get these dollars out. Let's support our small businesses, regardless of what community they are. 39 cities and towns, everyone matters and everyone counts. So that's the plug today. I did the health thing. Can't have a good economy without following through on the health issue and curbing the virus issues in terms of the infection rates. And we need to work on the education piece. And then we also need to revise this grant program and get that $50 million out so we can put another $75 million on. And we're going to have Senator Palmer on later to clarify some of the things that are misinformation, as far as I'm concerned, that's getting floated around. I just put a little tease out there. We don't have an $800 million shortfall in our deficit in our state budget this year. And so if we're making our decisions based on a projected $800 million shortfall, it is significantly less, and that's the good news. But also we need to make sure we make our decisions, especially as we're holding money for a use we can't use it, potentially losing those dollars if we're not being quick right now. We're up against the clock. That clock is ticking on getting those dollars out. Let's get those dollars out to our small businesses as quickly as we can. Okay, Ben, I think I've taken up my time here, but I really wanted to focus on those three issues. But now let's bring on Matt Wellen on. I know he's got a mask on. I know he's looking good there. Hi, Matt. How are you today?
Governor, I'm well.
Yes,
I look better behind a mask.
Yeah, I think we both. Well, no, I'll speak for myself. I probably look better, but you got to see that beard. You got that beard going on there. You're looking good.
Hey, we're trying. Things in unemployment land are actually pretty good right now. We're busy, and we're sorry that the federal government hasn't yet come through with any kind of additional surplus or any bump in the weekly benefit. But we're on top of our work at the moment. I mean, the biggest thing that's keeping us busy right now probably is that we're so far into this pandemic that we're seeing people that are starting to exhaust their initial claim. And that means they've used up the balance of their credits in their claim. So think of a claim like a bank account, and it starts with a finite amount of money. And each week you draw from that bank account and nothing additional goes into it. And so when you get towards the end of that, and when you get to the end, right now we have extensions available for you. If you only worked in Rhode Island for the 18 months or so before you filed, your extension should be automatic, which means all you do the following week is certify again. In fact, the message tells you that in your last week of your claim. A lot of people get anxious about that or confused, and I completely understand it, because you want to make sure that you're getting this money next week. That's how you're living, and that's how you're supporting your family. And so what I would encourage them to do right now is to call 415-6772. Over 1,000 people a day are being helped on the phone. Perhaps maybe try it later in the afternoons. That seems to be a good time. Right now, we have more people manning the phones than we've ever had. And so I would suggest give us a call at at 415-6772. We can assure you that your claim is going to be okay. If you did work in another state, even for a tiny amount of time, we do have to manually file that for you. So give us a call and we'll do it right over the phone while you're on. If you use up that first federal extension, which is a 13-week extension, there is another one. It's called state extended benefits, and that comes on the back end of that federal extension. Call us. We'll work it out with you. You would have never seen Matt Weldon get on a group session and say, call our call center 2 or 3 months ago. But because of the hard work of the men and women here, and because of the support they've gotten from the administration, we've been able to beef up the numbers. We're ready to take those calls. Please give us a try.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And I was down in Westerly over the weekend, and then I was also visiting some people that we were providing some masks to, so they could get it to some of their nonprofit church groups. And I can tell you, everywhere I'm going, Matt, the people who are responding in a way that's very positive to the work of you and your staff. I mean, I think a couple people, mentioned clearly that you helped them walk through a very difficult issue, and I actually gave Pauletta in our office a shout out because our office is working extremely hard to respond to these very important issues. And I only can echo what you just said, is that for us to have an economic recovery, we need Washington to get its act together. They really need to figure this out. The politics be damned. People in the state, our state, and I'm sure that's happening everywhere in the country, and our small businesses in particular, as we're working on their behalf, needs Washington to come out with a well thought out effort to address this economy that is going to falter if we don't get some more assistance out to the people that live in our states.
Well, that's right. And the House, came out quite a while ago now and put forward something, and unfortunately it died in the Senate. And I don't know if everyone realizes how lucky we are in Rhode Island. We have a very solid congressional delegation that is really and honestly working at an unbelievable pace to try to help Rhode Islanders. They fought hard to get an extension put in. The challenges that they've run into the political machine that is Washington, D.C., and between Speaker Pelosi and Leader McConnell, we just seem to be at log jams every time we try to do something. So it's not for a lack of effort here in Rhode Island. It's for just the nature of the beast in D.C. But as soon as we have something else available, we assure you we will get right on track. We're ready to pay, and we stand ready to help Rhode Islanders.
Yeah, Matt, and thank you, staff, for that as well on behalf of our office. And your point is well taken that our congressional delegation has been hammering it out on behalf of our the people who live in our state. But it shows you how important it is to have national leadership as well that follows up on these needs. And I'm fearful, and we've heard that they're not going to have anything until after the election, and that's 3-4 long weeks away, even more. It could be more based on whether, when the final count is done. So this could bring us up to Thanksgiving and beyond. And as I was talking about earlier, it's not in your area, but we've got a lot of 1.25 billion to hand out on and to the proper causes. And as long as there's unclarity in DC, we run the risk of playing that chicken on the railroad tracks, of staying on the railroad tracks too long, get run over, because if we don't use the money, we lose the money, and that's very clear in the way the current guidelines are set. So yeah, let's put some pressure on the not only the federal delegation, but continually give them support, but also let's echo. We'll be talking to them this week too about just continuing that message. But you keep up the good work and keep that work share going. You're going to need it. The work share is going to become more and more. I was on a call today with the Economic Commission in Barrington. We're going to every community, Matt, and they realize that that businesses are closing. And part of the reason that businesses can stay open is the work that you're doing, and getting money into the pockets of the people who in Rhode Island that have been impacted by the unemployment issues and the impact that the economy has had on their families, that put money in their pocket so that they can go and support our small businesses.
Absolutely.
And everyone we keep open, that's going to support our state budget and our local budget. They're all, it's all hand in hand here. So
Absolutely. That's what
so
we're here for.
Thank you so much, Matt. I appreciate your
Sure
time,
thing.
and we'll see you next week.
Absolutely. Ben, no questions today?
Oh, Ben, I'm sorry. Any questions, Ben? I forgot to bring you on.
No, that's all right. No questions for.
Put up the contact information again, though, for
No
Matt.
questions for Matt. Matt, I did promise that I would wear the mask the whole time. I can't do it. I need the glasses.
I hear you.
All right. So dlt.ri.gov, 401-415-6722. And of course, if you have a complicated issue that you want the Lieutenant Governor's office to contact Matt on your behalf, send it over to LTGOV20 and Cheyenne will hook you up with Matt on that. Thanks, Matt.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Take care,
appreciate it. We're coming up on our holidays. We want to be enjoying them. And part of that is the work that Matt's doing to make sure that those who have been lost revenues and have been unemployed or potentially going to be unemployed if we don't act quickly on some of these grant programs and in the state, that it's good to know that Matt is there and the whole staff at DLT and the leadership there is really working on behalf. It's been extraordinary, and it needs to be repeated that, hey, we got real good people working in our state, and let's support them. Let's make sure that we're out there telling people that, that people are working really hard on everybody's behalf right now. And one of those individuals has been on our calls for, ever since we started, Senator Louis DePalma. I think he's on, right, Ben? Can we bring him on? Yeah, the good senator down there in Middletown, Tiverton area, the Quidnick Island area, has been a great supporter of the small business community and all the efforts that our office has been embarking on. And I thought it would be good to just bring the senator on. Thank you for your face mask there, Senator. I do have mine as well. I got this in my tour in Narragansett. You can kind of see the logo right there on the Narragansett logo. I think you can see it right nice and clear there, yep. I think. Yep. Yeah. And, that's one of our 39 cities and towns, but you represent a couple of them. Tell us the area you represent, Lou, and before we get maybe into the details, I want to get on budget and also small business issues, but tell us where you serve and introduce yourself. The committees that you serve on and the work that you've been doing as a senator, in the past, but also currently right now in this real critical time.
Well, so Governor, thanks for having me on. It's good to be here. I try not to miss these on a weekly basis and encourage all those who can make it or not, even after the fact, listen to them. So I am Lou DePalma. I don't drive a taxi. I'm much taller than the guy who does drive a taxi. Those who are older than 40 will know what I'm referring to. If you're not, Google Danny DeVito and see what you find. But
Lou, I think it's over 50 right now, but that's
well, okay. Story. I don't want to go that far. I serve District 12 in Rhode Island, Senate District 12, which is all of Middletown, all of Little Compton, the southern portion of Tiverton, and the northeast corner of Newport. I'm serving my 6th term. I'm on the ballot in a few weeks, so we'll see what happens there going forward into the next session. I am a senior deputy majority leader, first vice chair of the Senate Finance Committee, where I've served for the last 12 years. I've served as subcommittee chair for every subcommittee of the budget. It's an important document, as important as a document from a numbers perspective. It's more important from a policy perspective. And it's always critical that we get this right, because there's over 1 million people in the state of Rhode Island that are counting on us to get this right every year. This year is no different, even more so this year, and what we're doing from the past budget we just passed in June and what we're doing going forward. So.
Yeah. So Lou, Senator, I've not only confirmed this with you and others, but we did end last year with a surplus, which was good for us. I've always said this, that we got to celebrate the good news when it happens and not be critical of the good news. We had a surplus last year, and tell us about what that number was, because I think that's very important in the context of the discussion of this current fiscal year as well.
Governor, you're right on. We ended the fiscal year that finished June 30th about $180 million to the good. And that's not necessarily we generated more money. We did, but the dollars are higher because our revenues are about $140 million greater than what we estimated in June or May, and our expenses were about $40 million less than what we estimated in May, $180 million. Fast forward that now to numbers we received last month for the prior couple months. We are already $60 million ahead of projected revenues and expenses of where we estimated them to be. So we're to the good, about 200, let's round the number up to about $250 million. Going into this fiscal year, if you fast forward backwards to May or March, we had about an $800 million hole. $200 million in last year budget, was addressed. Some money borrowed from the rainy day fund. Break on that, $600 million going into this year. If you take what I just said with regards to the $250 million, we're looking at needing to address about a $350 million hole in our budget as it stands today. That changes every day. Small businesses are a key driver of that now. And more importantly, the budget of FY22 begins next year.
Yeah, so I think it's really important. That information is important because I hear the media continually talk about, whether it's from Gene Valicenti on down, that we're facing an $800 million deficit shortfall this year. That's not accurate. That's not timely information.
Correct.
And as a former mayor who ran, had to manage budgets, up to date, good information allows us to make good decisions. And
Correct.
If we think that we're at an $800 million hole, we're going to make decisions differently than if we think it's a $350 million challenge, which is certainly needs to be addressed. It's not a small number, but it's not 800 million. And
Right.
And so I think that information that you provided there is going to be new information to many of the reporters out there who are reporting on the issues that are pressing. And the ones that we're really focused on, which is the small business interest,
Right.
and we're holding back monies in the federal monies of that 1.25 billion because of budget concerns. And as I've repeated over and over again, we can't use those dollars to plug hole in budgets based on the current guidelines.
Correct.
And those guidelines are not going to be changed till after the election at best. And we're running on this deadline, which I think you're aware of. We talked about that this morning, that
Right.
those dollars, that federal dollars, need to be used and allocated in advance of December 31st. And on the small businesses, because it's taken a couple weeks based on application to approval to monies going out, that means that this all has to be done, in early December at the very latest. And here we are approaching November. So how we, what is the, as a senator, member of the General Assembly, this urgency is very, very alarming to me, very concerning that we're not fast tracking these dollars to these small businesses. And I know you've been advocating for the 125 million since day one.
Correct. Governor, you're right on. I am concerned as well. And if you look at the numbers of the dollars based on the 1.25 billion, and when you look at the 1.25 billion, that's the least amount any state would get. Basically, I think we're in the same state as what Maine has, maybe Vermont as well. But I think Maine not be correct. But of the 1.25 billion, based on reports from the Office of Management and Budget and the Budget Office, we're somewhere between have available that's not been appropriated, meaning have not been spent, somewhere between $400 million and $550 million. That's how much we have available. And it does go away, as you indicate clearly. We haven't seen any relief coming. It's going to go away at the end of December. People will say it might be, but what we're hearing, it could be available. We're the here and the now. And if we don't address the small business issue today and as fast as we humanly can, it's an issue of that for them today. And there are neighbors, there are businesses that have been very successful over the years, significant issues today. We need to help them. It's going to affect our budget now, even more so when all this is said and done and all the relief money is gone next year when we're passing a budget in June of 2021 for the budget of the year that begins July 1st of 2021. The small businesses that aren't around, we'll be looking at saying should have, could have, would have, and why didn't we? The time to act is clearly now. We have to act faster. We have to act smarter, but we clearly need to act faster than we are right now.
Yeah. So, and I know that we've been sharing the letters that we've been sending to the governor's office in Commerce with you, and
Yep.
a quick point on the available revenue. Just because you allocated $50 million to small businesses doesn't mean that that's in that number. There's still $40 million that could be added on to your number of the, that 500 million, 450 to 500 million. Anything that's been allocated but that has not been expended, those are dollars that we could be giving up too. Just because you allocate them for a specific use doesn't mean that you get to spend it unless you've actually spent the money and you've given that money out. So that number that is available could even be higher, Senator, than the number you have, because all the allocations of funds, whether it's for the job training program, 45 million, we know we haven't expended all of that, or some of the other dollars that are out there on some of these programs that have been announced but haven't been spent. This is very dangerous in terms of, sometimes you just got to go and act and get it done based on the rules that are in front of you, because the potential downside could be dramatic. So couple of things that we'll be putting in a letter, if it hasn't already gone to the governor's office, certainly after this call, and inform the press releases we have in the past. One is let's make the minimum award $5,000. Let's create a very fast track application on that, similar to what is in the pre-application right now. If you can put a pre-application in, then you get $5,000. If you want to go past that, we've increased the number of employees from 20 to 50. Thank you, Commerce and Stephen Pryor and Secretary Pryor and the staff there. But let's take the 15,000 up to 50,000, like other states have, including Vermont. $50,000 if you qualify up to 50 now, because one of the things that we're getting, Senator, is that people feel as though the process is still cumbersome and not worth the time to get $1,000. So let's make it 5 minimum. Let's increase it to $50,000 on the upside, and then let's make sure that we're very aware that everybody's aware. The small businesses, Commerce is already. The governor's office needs to be aware. The general public and the media really needs to, they need to take a strong interest in this. And I'm going to be talking later about one of the things that we're doing to get the media, covering this story. But it's not 800 million.
Right.
If you're reporting 800 million, it's not the accurate figure. Let's use accurate figures. There's 50 million that has been appropriated. It has nothing to do with plugging a hole in the budget. Let's get that money out. Yet some of the media is still saying that, we got to hold the money to plug the hole in the budget. But this 50 million, Senator, has nothing to do with plugging a hole in the budget. It's been appropriated. Let's get it out there, right?
Correct. And as you always start off the call, the governor's doing a great job with regards to managing the state and keeping our numbers where they are and as low as they are compared to some other places. Categorically, we need to move as fast and as strategic and as tactically as possible with regards to getting this money to small businesses. Because you're right on, the concern with regards to what happens in Washington today, tomorrow, November 3rd, after November 3rd, we can't bet on what the two birds in the bush. I got to go with the one in the hand and work with what I got.
Yeah, thanks, Senator, and thank you for really helping out. I mean, from introducing me to farmers like the Young Family Farm down in Tiverton, and the way that you brought other people on board here and connected our office in with many small businesses. They really appreciate that leadership that you provided. Now let's get the money into their pockets, and let's get another 75 million out there in a way that really helps these small businesses. I can tell you, whether I'm visiting in your community, I'll be down in Newport this week, as I mentioned. We'll be in Jamestown as well, with Jamie Ainsworth down there and Nancy Bai, who owns a daycare center. We heard today through the grapevine. We haven't confirmed it yet, but we're hearing the daycare centers, with the work that you and I have done, are going to actually qualify for these grants now, who have not been able to qualify up to this point in time.
Great
So
work.
that's why this work that we do, Senator, is so important.
Absolutely.
And we do it professionally, but we do it, unapologetically, right? We need to really work hard and speak out, and you have, so appreciate that.
We all have a job to do. We have to do it as respectfully direct as we need to and as possible. So.
Yeah, you got it. All right, so we'll stay in touch, Senator.
Excellent.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for doing what you're doing.
You got it. Yeah, so I mean, that's an important point that the senator brought forward, and I've confirmed this in other avenues where I can, speak very confidently and publicly. Look, we ran a surplus of last fiscal year, about 180 million plus. That's good news for us, ladies and gentlemen. Any stress of a local budget or a state budget is going to impact our families. We know it is. We've gone through that cycle in the real estate downturn 10 years ago, and the internet bubble after 9/11, and the banking crisis in the early 90s. I've lived through that as a small business person. That's why I'm so passionate about doing everything we possibly can to make sure that we survive this health crisis and then our economy gets back as quickly as we can. The 125 million, we got 50 million out there right now. The 125 million, 75 million more is going to make it a lot more likely, and deal with real numbers. I don't want to hear that we have an $800 million deficit any longer. I'm hearing it on the radio. I'm hearing it reported. We need to correct that. We're sending out a press release today to make sure that that's corrected. I want to hear that we ran a $180 million surplus at the end of last year. That's critical to our state. It's critical to our local communities and everybody that lives in our 39 cities and towns. And I want to hear, the accurate information, as Senator DePalma just said. We've got somewhere around a $350 million shortfall projected right now. But we can overcome that. And we can overcome that in a way that doesn't put stress on our local communities. If we use this inflated number, then it's going to give reason to not give the monies out to the small businesses incorrectly. We're not going to be supporting our local communities the way I think we should be in our schools and in our municipal, municipalities throughout the state. Let's use accurate numbers. I don't want to hear 800 million any longer. Let's send that message out loud and clear. It's not 800 million. It's closer to 350 million. Still a number that we have to deal with, but it's certainly a lot more manageable, 800 million. And then we make our decisions to get these grants out and other ways to help our businesses and help our local communities, so we don't have to, be, dealing with misinformation. Misinformation, it kills us. It's an economic, killer, and we can't afford that. We need our economy to move forward. Got to get the health issues in place before. That's why we wear a mask. Thank you down in Narragansett. That was great being down there with Peg down there, and heads up the chamber down in Narragansett last week. But let's bring on, whoever's on board here. Chris Parisi, hopefully he's here. Laurie, and I don't know if Justin made the trip, but he's telling me that he's getting close to reopening our, one of our three amigos there with Justin. We got to make sure we give him a lot of support, right, Laurie?
Yes, definitely. Good morning or good afternoon.
Morning. Good afternoon. And Chris, thank you. I was on the call today with your Barrington crew, because you moved into Barrington, and with you and your fiance, and your wedding's coming up. So congratulations on all the changes you're making in 2020. That's all positive things. But let's get right to it. You've heard about the letter and the press release. I've been in communication with a core group of small businesses that are on our small business coalition that Laurie and yourself and Chris and Justin helped really launch several months ago. But let's talk about specifically, Chris and Laurie, you've had some ideas about how the messages that we need to deliver right now to the governor, to Commerce. Commerce is trying really hard. We had somebody on from Commerce today on that Barrington call. We know that they want to get the money out. We did, but they have to follow the guidelines that they get from the governor and from the, from the Commerce Secretary. They want to get that money out. So, Chris, go to you first. Give me some of your thoughts. We've had these conversations about getting the money out, and wasn't it revealing to hear what Senator DePalma just said? We don't want to hear any longer that we got an $800 million shortfall in our budget. That's going to force us to make some really bad decisions, having that bad information out there. So that was really important to set the table for this conversation. So, Chris, give us some of your thoughts about the grants in particular, and then also beyond that.
Yeah, it's really important that Senator De Palma was able to share that information, accurate information, because it affects what we do with that 1.25 billion that the governor got from the federal funds. That, correct me if I'm wrong, Lieutenant Governor, that expires at the end of the year. It's either we use it or lose it, correct?
We use it or lose it, and remember, December 31st is the date when they settle up, right? But if we're in process of doing things leading up to that point, we don't get credit for that, right? It's got to be
Right.
money that actually has been appropriated and allocated.
And that's why it's important to understand that a lot of this money couldn't even go towards budget shortfalls. And if we do that, we need to focus on how we can help small businesses today. Now, like you said, Commerce and the team there has been very helpful, especially as of late. They have been listening, and they do want to do what's best for our small businesses. Really great group of folks there. And we did make progress, right? We opened it up to sole proprietors, and we made the application more streamlined. So it's incredibly important that if you did not apply for the Restore RI grant, you must do it today. Every little bit counts. And if you already did it, share it with your neighbors, share it with your fellow business owners, and you let everyone know to apply for that Restore RI grant. It's free money that the government's able to provide to the small businesses as they mandated us to shut down, as things have been negatively impacted by COVID. It's certainly not a handout. It's certainly something that we need in order to survive. But we also need to do more. Out of that 50 million that is allocated for the Restore RI grant, there's about 40 million or so left over. That means we have to get the money out quicker and wider. So we're proposing a few other ideas, and some ideas that I had, this is just kind of throwing out there, is, well, let's double the amounts. You know, if we already have that much left over, let's double the grant award amounts that they have. Just simply double it, make things easier. If you already applied for a grant and you already got the money, have them send a check for that same exact amount so that you can double the amount that you got automatically. You don't have to go through a whole nother application process. We're just trying to think of ways to get the cash into the hands of small businesses, utilize that 50 million that's allocated for Restore RI grant, and then have another conversation of what else can we do to help our small business community. There is more money out there out of that 1.25 billion. First, we got to get through this 50 million, apply, expand the program, allow others, and there's more things we can discuss like that as a team. And again, that's why your interest in advocacy is important. So if you haven't, joined the coalition by going to www.rismallbusiness.org. We have a weekly call every Monday, listening to the coalition, and some of these ideas that we have been proposing and propose has come from coalition members and small business owners like you. So join the coalition, join our call, and join these broadcasts that the Lieutenant Governor hosts, who's been our biggest ally, our biggest supporter. We wouldn't be here without the leadership from Lieutenant Governor McKee, but we also can't do it without each other. This is more than just one individual. This is more than just a few of us here. It's all about the collective, joining together, advocating and fight for what we need, and being loud and letting our concerns be heard, because Commerce is listening. They do care, and they are trying to help. So this is why it's important to get involved like this and continue to support for what you need. Is that right, Lori?
Yeah.
Right. That is right. Yeah. And as you're talking about this, I'm thinking we started this whole process saying that the 50 million wasn't ever going to be enough. And I know that it isn't enough. So yesterday I spoke with the CFR or whatever group that is that's distributing the money, and they did say that, you know, this process in Rhode Island is a little bit tougher, but that Rhode Island is making very concerted efforts to make it more streamlined. And if these rules change, which I hope they do, and you've already applied, you can just go in and kind of re-up your application with all the information that's already in there. So I think that the partnerships are working. I think it's just a matter of making sure that the businesses know that they go in, they apply, and once they get in, like you said, it's free money. You know, you have to prove, it's not like you just go in and get the money. You have to prove that, you know, you're at least 30% down, you have these employees. But the fact is, this is the reality of what's happening to businesses in Rhode Island. And I'll share my business story was that our employees went to part-time, and that was a cost savings for our business as we were shifting. And within this process, that isn't, you know, now those employees don't get counted as full employees. They only get counted as half employees. So from, you know, at this moment, that's acceptable as a business. But if you're out there and you're a small business, you want to make sure that you're paying attention and listening to these updates so that when something changes, it's going to be just the click of a button, and know that you have this support from the Lieutenant Governor, the Small Business Coalition. I mean, we want to make sure that we're all holding hands on this and communicating with each other. So I did send out a newsletter to all the members of the Shop Local Rhode Island site this morning, encouraging them to click the link and apply and get their businesses in the loop to be able to understand how this is moving forward. My concern is that our numbers in Rhode Island are inching up a little bit today, and we keep talking about the second wave. So we want to make sure that we're getting this money to the businesses, especially now, because like today, the weather, nobody's going to go outside and sit outside and enjoy the outdoors, and it's getting cold. And so we have, for the businesses, especially that are seasonal, I mean, they need this help, and we can support that. I mean, we're all saying the same thing. Get out there, apply for the grant, get the money out, and push for more.
Yeah, and Laurie and Chris, you know, I'm a realist from the point of view, we got to deal with the rules that are set in place right now, and encourage our small businesses to work their way through it. And as we go forward, we are going to put out recommendations to simplify it. Today, it's a lot easier to go through the process than it was in the past. And one of our guests that are going to be coming on, spent 10, 12 hours on the original application. And yet today we'll have one of our guests that now same applications going, in less than 3 hours, or, 3 hours or less, or 2 hours, whatever it might be. So,
Right.
But we're realists. We can't wait for the rules to change to accommodate, the way you think they should be. We need to use the guidelines we currently have, and those guidelines can work. And one of the things that we're doing, Laurie and Chris, is that because we're out, indeed, now we rebranded the 39 tour now to say it's a Restore Rhode Island grant tour, a 39 hashtag 39 Restore Rhode Island grant program, as opposed to Take It Outside, because we want to emphasize that the money is in these grants, and the money that is in the in the Take It Outside is being allocated to local communities or to local business associations, not directly to the businesses. So this money goes directly to the businesses. So we're doing pilot strategies that we're going to work, like in Narragansett shortly. We were in Gloucester, call today. We're going to go out we'll be in Jamestown, and we're going to help walk people through this application process. And then we're going to ask the local media to come as we put 3-4 businesses together in a space and help walk them through the application, and have the local media come in and tell the story, so that becomes that point of communication. And the reason we're doing this is that the governor visited Newport last week. There was an article in the Journal last week about helping small businesses. There wasn't one word in that article about the grant program. It was about the training program, and it was about the Take It Outside program. We're not getting enough publicity out, in my mind, to help these small businesses, and then we got to walk them through it. So we're changing the brand of our Take It Outside program. And it's no longer that. We're doing a 39, Restore Rhode Island grant program. And we're going to every community to get this information out. And that's why it's so great that the coalition is active. And Laurie,
and
what
I
you've
think
done,
that
and Chris, you've done. So that's what we're doing.
as small businesses, I would say what kind of publicity is going to come around when small businesses and the state realizes that they had all this money and they didn't give it away. So let's be proactive about this type of publicity, and let's really put the pedal to the metal and say, okay, guys, this is going to make things better. And not, I can imagine, that the press is going to turn around and say, oh, we had all this money and didn't get to distribute it. What happened?
Yes.
But we need businesses have the authority and the power to take this on, to do their own thing for their own business. It's available. And the beauty is once you apply and they change the rules to maybe double the grant or lessen or increase the number of employees or whatever that is, all you have to do is go into the application that you've already submitted and ask for an appeal, and you get that review again. And so if you continue to meet the criteria, you are in the game.
Yeah, and if we can set it up that way, we can get that next $75 million on the table, and we can apply the same things that Chris and Laurie have been talking about, and the things that we're going to put in our letter today that's, I think, has gone out, that's going to the media. And I think the media plays a role in this. We're doing a weekly broadcast on WADK down in Newport, and with Bruce down there. And we're talking about these things. So the media can play an important role, and for them, to provide the coverage of our 39, Restore Rhode Island grant program, and then actually highlight these businesses that if they physically see are starting to do the application process. If that goes out into all the local media outlets in the state of Rhode Island in the next 10 days or so, this money is going to be a lot more available to many more small businesses. I can just tell you on the Westerly, they closed down their main high street the last 3 or 4 Sundays. And businesses, I visited there yesterday Sunday with my wife, Susan, and Tony Silva from our office, and Linda, his wife. And we talked to a dozen or more businesses. And one of them has a virtual indoor golf. Right. So, and they're struggling. And I can't wait to tee it up. I get to play. I think I get to play the famous course out in California. What's the name of that place? Pebble Beach. Yeah, I'm going to get to play Pebble Beach there, and that'll be a guest on here. But they went through the process and they labored through it, and they got a $2,500 grant. That was like a striking gold for them. That was a Christmas morning for them. And we need to make sure that gets duplicated throughout the state. So your work on the coalition, and everybody I'm meeting with, I'm saying go to rismallbusiness.org. Register your company as part of the coalition. This is not only important during the health crisis and the economic crisis we're going through, but it's going to position our office to put thousands of small businesses together to be advocating long-term for small business friendliness. We're learning a number of things during this pandemic. We know that certain communities are impacted more than others. Clearly that's why I'm going to keep on working on that education piece. The communities that are impacted more than others, Laurie and Chris, are the ones who are not getting the education they deserve in many ways. But we also have learned that our small businesses are critical to the livelihoods of our communities, and Chris has said it over along. It's the bloodline of our communities. If we learn one thing about that, we've learned that about the importance of small businesses. So we're positioned, if we stay organized, and I'll give you guys the last word. If we stay organized after this, we should be really advocating for small business friendly issues, and that's what we're going to continue to do in our office. And with the coalition's help, we're going to make some good things happen. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. It is such a important part of the fabric of our community. It's more than just the economy. So, what I would say, in addition to what we've already said, apply for the Restore RI grant, spread the word, make sure your neighbors are heard, and continue to advocate and fight and join the coalition, is we're also all consumers, whether you're a business purchasing for your business or an individual purchasing for yourself. Is shop local, right, Lori? I'll let you kind of talk about that part as I tee it up to you. And buy local. Go to your community. If you have the choice between your local hardware store or Home Depot, please choose your local hardware store. If you have a choice between Starbucks and the local coffee shop, please choose the local coffee shop. We all have a role in this. This is not just from the government giving grants to the small businesses. It's the small businesses pivoting and doing what they can. And it's also us on an individual effort, choosing to buy local and choose local. And I know you have a site just for that, right, Lori?
Yeah, I do. Right, Visual Thrive created shoplocalrhodeisland.com. And I think that, we're in a voting cycle here. So vote with your dollars, people. Like we each need each other to keep these businesses, rising up. So that, what is it? The rising tide lifts all boats. And that's kind of what the Shop Local Rhode Island site was intended to do, so that businesses could ask questions of each other and help each other, and also buy things from each other, and have a higher awareness of what's actually happening in Rhode Island. I mean, it's pretty incredible when you start looking at the number and variety of small business and beautiful, amazing stuff that's produced here and sold here. So vote with your dollars.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're going to bring a couple business owners on now, and I guess can't impress you. Go to rismallbusiness.org, register your business. Lori, Chris, Justin, and many other businesses are really advocating for all our small businesses in the state. And we're going to bring a couple of those small businesses on right now to tell their story and their experiences on the grant applications. Jennifer, thank you for being here. And Carrie, thank you for being here. Really appreciate that. And Jennifer from Salon 707. But yeah, let's get right to it. I want to talk to Carrie first. We visited down there at Jigger's Diner. I think we have a picture of that. We might show that when we were down in East Greenwich. But yeah, Carrie, introduce yourself, and then if you could, there we are, right outside the diner. So anybody wants to go out right down in East Greenwich, this is a fabulous place, an old time diner. That they've been able to keep going, and it's what an experience it is. The food is great, and it's quite an experience too. So, Carrie, just give us a quick overview of your business and how long you've been in, but then get right to the experience you had on the initial application process. And I want to go to Jennifer because she's had experience on the old application process and the new application process, and we want people to know that there's been changes. But give us a little overview of your business, Carrie, and thank you for being here. And then let's get to the Restore Rhode Island grant.
Okay, so good afternoon, Lieutenant Governor. So as far as the initial application for that Restore Rhode Island, it was very difficult to navigate through that system. The drop-down menus and the availability to add attachments to the different areas was, the directions were very unclear, and it was very time-consuming. So what I think is that a lot of our the small business owners, especially myself, I'm finding myself dealing so much with my business directly that I had very little time to try and get this done. But at the same time, every dollar counts for us right now. So I believe that we do need more education. We need an easier system for either allowing those grants to come on, and then later you can gather all of the necessary information that is needed to, the legitimate expenses that would be forgiven. Even with that being said, the amount of the $15,000, and I think we spoke about this when you were on Main Street, is a very small drop in the bucket for a lot of these businesses. I mean, I'm a very small 33-seat restaurant. But the utilities alone per month, I mean, my electric and my gas alone is over $3,000. And then we're going into the winter months. So to try and sustain ourselves with the same amount of utilities and expenses versus the decrease in our customers and what we've, it's going to make it very, very difficult for a lot of these businesses to stay alive. I was especially liked what Chris Parisi had to say, that if you have already applied for this money and you have received money, if they are going to double the amounts, I think that's a fabulous idea. The thought of having to go through that entire process again is exhausting, just to even think about. And I've spoke with other business owners too, such as Jen Vieira from Salon 707, just the process itself to try and go through that. A lot of people, just simply didn't have the time. Steve at Main Street Coffee struggled with the same, situation, and he clearly needs the money. A lot of these restaurants, especially the seasonal ones that you were talking about in Newport, I'm open full year round, but January, February, and March are very tough months for the restaurant business itself. And these summer, restaurants that didn't get their revenue I don't know how they're going to be able to survive, and it's.
Yeah, so Carrie, we are putting a letter together today to the governor. It will be made public about what Chris's ideas was, the coalition's ideas. I'm asking for the max to get up to 50,000. It's not 15,000. Make the minimum 5,000 on a pre-app strategy that would take a half an hour or so to put together. And then those businesses that are have already received dollars. The 1,300 businesses, just to double up as long as it won't go over 50. So just double it up. If they got 7,500, send them another check for 7,500. If they got 15,000, send them another check for 15,000. We gotta the money. If the money is not expended, we may have to give it back. And we are, as you mentioned, Carrie, we are in the middle of October now, and a log jam in D.C. And that's not going to change with the election. It's going to get complicated in one direction or the other, but depending on who wins that election. So we need to get that money out now, double it up, and like I said, as Chris said, I support that by by increasing the amount to 50,000 with a minimum of 5,000, and then anybody who qualified for double it up, and then get the money out there as quickly as we can. Carrie, thank you for sharing your story. Jennifer, give us your experience. And by the way, we had Chris mentioned one of our press conferences we had right at Jennifer's Executive Cuts in Providence a few months back. And it's great that, that we still have businesses that are, still engaged, because that's what it's going to take. Our voice matters. And I'm a former small business owner, and I'm living this experience as everybody else is right now, or reliving it, during times when we rode the roller coaster. But Jennifer, give us a little overview. Thank you for really participating the way you have, and give us a overview of your business, and then also get into the application and your experience now on the revised application process as it currently stands.
Okay, thank you, LG, for having me. So I had initially applied at the beginning when I didn't qualify. I did the application just to put my name in there and say, I may not qualify, but I am a business that needs help. So I went through the whole huge application, which was about 10 to 12 hours of work. Now that I did qualify, I just had to do an email. I got a contact back, and then I was able to very streamlined just apply for what I qualified for. But my husband is also a business owner of almost 4 years, and so I did the streamlined application for his business. He's a general contractor, and it was so much easier. I just want people to know that it is so much easier, streamlined. There's less requirements of proof that you have to upload. Use your grant calculator. I think that is very underrated. You can go to the grant calculator without actually applying, and you can actually see what you're allowed to put on for your expenses, future expenses. A lot of people don't know that. I actually helped my neighbor next door also with his application, and he also just signed his e-documents this past weekend. Also, just like everyone else, the amount that we received is not enough. It's less than a third of what I lost for the 9 weeks of being out. So I'm all on board of whatever you guys need me here for. If any other salons, beauty shops need help filling out their applications or asking questions, feel free to give me a call.
Yeah, Jennifer, two things. One is we're going to take you up on that because, as I say, as we're doing this 39 Restore Rhode Island grant work right now all around the state, we're going to be able to, have businesses that have been able to work their way through it, help other businesses, because the more money we get out, the better our economy is. So we'll take you up on that once or twice to kind of get you into the spots that you're going to be able to help people. And then the other point that you made today when we were doing our thread of texting, as I was asking for people's suggestions in terms of what should go into this letter that we're going to make public before the day's out. And I'll be on the Dan York show today talking specifically about, improving the grant strategies and the deadlines that we're facing, was that you reinforced this in my mind about the fact that, look, many of our businesses were asked to shut down to keep us healthy. You made that point, right, Jennifer? How many weeks were you asked to get shut down?
We were closed for 9 weeks by
9 weeks.
By order of the governor. 9 weeks.
And we
so
can't.
I feel that if I lost that income from nine weeks, I can prove how much I would have made in that same time frame last year. I've been in business for 16 years, so I can show you my taxes from last year and show you how much I would have made in those 9 weeks. And the amount that she gave us is not even close to what we lost.
Yeah, and Jennifer, I think that point is one that we were making early on when we were advocating to get some money into the grants when there was not being appropriated, and we were asking for 125 million. We got 50 million. That's why what Kerry is agreeing with Chris Parisi on. We know that you can double up on everybody who's received it, in a blink of an eye, and not have impact the available dollars. But your point needs to be continually reinforced. And I made that point weeks ago that we told businesses they needed to close to keep our Rhode Islanders safe. Now, we can't forget that, right? And you bringing that back up, so important, so critical. Sometimes memories are short, Jennifer.
Yeah,
and
a friend of yours
we can't
was
let
here.
that make happen. Huh?
A friend of yours was here earlier getting a haircut, and Dennis, he owns Saki's, and he applied. Also, did not receive a huge amount that is life impacting. But I told him we're fighting for more. So good thing you did apply, because hopefully there's more coming.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be very easy to just double it up and then get the 75 million back on the plate. And understand that we're working against an unbelievable deadline here, that it's going to be a shame if money is given back, or we, in the last minutes, we start distributing the money in a way that just to get it out. Sometimes you're not doing it properly, but you got to get it out, and you just get it out, and yet we can get it to so many small businesses right now. We're at 1,000, 1,300 businesses. I calculate we could get it out to 10,000 businesses if we did it a little bit differently, and that 75 million maybe we'll be able to address that in a quick distribution strategy. So thank you, Jennifer. Jennifer Briera from Salon 707. So a new face to our program here. To introduce yourself as what the type of work you're doing and some of your thoughts on, in particular, on the grant programs. But your salon was asked to close as well, right? You were required to close as well, and then your reopening was under circumstances that were abbreviated your operation to a certain degree. So welcome. Thank you for being here, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and thank you, Kerry, for giving me the information to come on today. I am not on this Rhode Island smallbusiness.org site, so I'm going to definitely join that force. I started the application and I did get approved, but they still need more paperwork, and I just stopped because it was just very frustrating and overwhelming to me. I recently expanded right before this happened. I have 17 girls that work independently for me. So it definitely was a struggle for all of us. I wasn't really able to benefit from a lot of the programs that were out there because I am my only employee in the salon. We were closed 12 weeks. So yeah, it was a little frustrating. We've just been, when we first started to open back up, we worked 7 days a week, 10, 12-hour days just to try to get the momentum going. We still have to spread people out. We have capacity regulations, limitations, and some people are still a little uncomfortable, but it's a slow process. But you know, like you all have said, every little bit helps. So I'm hoping to go back on today and see if I can streamline through whatever else they need and see what I'm available as far as availability, what I would be accepted for at this point. But it was a little challenging.
Yeah.
Along with working, and you know, I've applied for other things like PPP, and it just was so streamlined. It was so quick. So it was just a little challenging.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing, Jennifer. I've often said, as a small business owner, that sometimes a good day is when I have the key in my hand to open up the door and the key in the hand to close the door and know that I can come back and I can live through another day, especially when we have these downturns. And I can share with you that in my visit to Gloucester last week, we met with a handful of businesses, encouraged them to do the grants, met with one business owner that I think is almost exactly what your story you just said. They got into the process of the grants, and then all of a sudden they couldn't figure out how to complete it, so they just left the table. Yep. And they kind of just said, "Geez, we weren't, we were denied," and so we followed up on that, and that's why I bring it up. Your story is very similar to Charlie's out in Gloucester, and we have followed it up, got him back into the mix. And shortly he'll be approved for some form of a grant. So your story, very important to share. Just because you start the process, if you're getting overwhelmed, you need to kind of reach out to our office or reach out to some of the Small Business Coalition with Chris and others. We're there to kind of walk our way through this. And then when you do this, Jennifer, we'd love to have you be advocating out for the changes that we're going to be make public this afternoon. I've already address some of those things, make it a minimum of 5,000, get the grant up to 50,000. Anybody who's already been approved, double them up, in terms of a check without having to reapply, and then be very sensitive to this December 31st date, which is a drop dead date to have everything done. That means that our drop dead date for these applications. Jennifer, did it take you a week? Jennifer Ortiz, what is it, a week that your husband received the money after getting approved? Or how long was the process, Jennifer, before they got the money? Or did you get the money? Jennifer Ortiz, unmute yourself.
Ben had me muted.
Okay.
Sorry. It was actually really easy. My husband and I got funded on the same day. He actually found the money in his account before I did. Which was like, I applied months ago, but I signed my e-documents on a Friday and he signed his on a Sunday, and we both were funded Tuesday. So once, and this is what my neighbor I'm going through, he signed his e-documents Sunday. So he's texting me like, I just signed, when am I going to get the money? And these are the connections we're trying to form with the coalition of the businesses that are going through it. So you guys do know, for Jennifer, I don't know where in the process you are, but once there's 3 people that come up in your portal. So once you pass the first phase, the second person comes up, and that's kind of like the person that checks everything if you need any final documents. And then once your third person comes up, that's when your e-documents are coming and you get funded within 3 to 4 days.
Well, I want to thank all 3 of you as small business owners, and women business owners, which are really critical in our state. And And we know that there's a certain amount of hurdles that women owners have over, that they got to go over. So we really need to really focus on helping all our small businesses. And I've said this over and over again. There's 39 cities and towns. Everybody has a different market that they're in. They're all being impacted equally. This is not a high income, low income, moderate income argument. This is not a minority, non-minority argument. This is an argument for our small businesses. And so you coming on, sharing your stories, and then we continue to follow up with you. So critical to the helping our small businesses out, especially as we enter into the holiday seasons. Let's support our small businesses. So thank you to everybody for coming
Thank
on.
you.
We'll stay in touch.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you've heard that story, and we're going to focus on these grants. There's a lot more work to be done. We're all in on the Restore Rhode Island grants. We're all in on the Take It Outside strategies. We're all in on the health issues. That's really important to me and to all our businesses. But we need to really focus on these grants. There's a deadline of December 31st. We're coming up against that right now. The money is going out slow, so we need to revise it. Get a minimum of 5,000, a maximum of 50,000 on these grants. Streamline the process so that we even get that $5,000 grant out on a real simplified app. If you qualify, you get the money. And we need to really focus on this effort, and we're going to continue to do that. We'll be in your community. If you have a business you'd like us to visit, let us know. If there's a community that you'd like us to visit, let us know, and we'll make sure that we put you on the list to get out and see you. Until then, let's stay safe. I know we went over a little bit longer today, but those stories that were just shared by our small business owners, so critical, so important. Let's stay safe. Let's work on these grants. Let's keep on supporting our small businesses. And tune in tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, to our community conversation, and we'll be talking more about Rhode Island and the importance that all our 39 cities and towns play, and our small businesses in particular. So thanks, Ben. Appreciate it.